Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Firewall Files. This is episode 4, and I haven't given up yet, so I think that's a pretty good impress that I've made it 4 episodes. This takes a lot of time, even though I'm only 4 episodes in, but like the hours I've already spent doing 4 episodes is a lot because I do talk a lot more than what you guys hear, but it's more so like that kind of shit. So I'm sitting here having to listen to it all over again and edit it out and then put it together and render it and all the fun stuff that comes with content creating. But that's what I love to do. I'm not complaining, but it is a lot. It is very time consuming. This past week has been very crazy for me, I will say, in all of my 2 years so far being Firewall Fox. It feels like the very beginning again when a lot of people found me. My Instagram reels have been taking off and it's insane, and I'm so thankful. In the last 2 weeks alone, I've reached 15 million people, and that's insane. 15 million? 15 million people have seen my name. And I don't, it's just not hitting me. That's just not hitting me at all. I just don't, I can't fathom that fat of a number, but it's insane. So if you are a new listener, you've returned, you've been here since the beginning, you've come because of my reels, truly thank you so much. Thank you for supporting me on Instagram because I don't know how the TikTok ban's gonna go. Thank you for always supporting me on TikTok. Thank you for supporting me on stream. I just want to get this out of the way. It's not today's topic, but it's just been unbelievable, the support I've been given, and it just feels unreal, and I'm so appreciative of it. Appreciative of it, period. This has been my dream, is to always just make content and be seen for it, but it's so much more than that to me. My dream is just to be able to have a community, and that's what seems to be happening, and it's growing, and that's insane. It's not about the money. It's not about, quote, I wouldn't consider this fame by any means. I'm no fucking Mr. Beast. But I just want to have a space where I can come and hang out with people that enjoy the same things I enjoy. I have people to talk to. I'm not so alone. So this has been an unreal year just to start off. I'm trying to hit 10K on Twitch by the end of the year. I'm trying to hit a 1K on YouTube, which I feel like we're going to do sooner rather than later. And then I'm going to owe everybody a 48-hour stream. I'm going to have to jump off a cliff. No, it's been a long time coming. I have yet to do a subathon in the 2 years of being a streamer. And many people do them on the daily, but I know it's a money thing, and I hate doing that kind of stuff. But you know what? One time in 2 years, I feel is, valid to push for a subathon. Anywho, I just wanted to say thank you all for being here today and wherever else you are finding me. But today's topic is the episode you've all been waiting for, the tech talk, the tech episode. I'm going to start off just by my beginner jobs in life, and then my first tech job, how I got there. We're going to go over all of my tech jobs that I've had. And also, I get this question a lot, so I thought this would be the perfect platform to talk about it on. And it's how do I get my first tech job? I really love what you do. Your job seems really cool, which is very kind considering the people that have had my job know it's not the coolest job in the world. But I'm going to answer it all because I can't keep responding to the same DM over and over again. So this is it. If you want to know how to get a tech job, it's not my way. I'd say my way was very lucky, but also not wrong. Just the normal route most people wouldn't go. But I don't know. I've gotten some feedback from my chats before saying it's a great way to do it. So this is not a guarantee that you'll get a job episode. This is just a direction of how I did it. And you could and how other people have done it too. from what I've heard. So you can take some bits and pieces from this and hopefully come up with something for yourself. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to start off just with I want this to be like a job episode. And I've had a lot of weird jobs that have led me to tech. And from last week's episode, I talked about it. But tech was never the dream job for me. I've always wanted I wanted to be on the news. That's what my dream job was. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a news anchor. That was the goal. But in high school, and we'll get to it, but in high school, I fell in love with a guy who worked in the quote took a class in the tech department, and I wanted to understand him better and understand when he would be excited about new releases or when he'd update his computer. I wanted to understand the joy that he was having. So I forced myself to learn all of this stuff, and long story short, it's gotten me here. Which is funny, and I said it last week, but the guy I did all this for wouldn't even learn a single Taylor Swift song for me. Anyways, it's just it works out in that way. It's just funny that way, right? So I started my first job illegally. At the ripe age of 13, I was a busser, a table busser at a little sandwich shop, and I just cleaned tables, nothing crazy. I was paid under the table, which was nice. I've been working early, so I've been making that bag for a while. And then, so that lasted a few years. And then when I actually was able to get a real job, I worked at my local IGA, if you know what that is. It's a little grocery store, basically, but everything's price hiked because it's the only fucking store in a 40-mile radius, so everything's like a carton of eggs is $12. So I worked there since I was 16 to about 18. And then this is where the jobs start getting weird. You're oh, that's normal. A, high school student working in a grocery store, bussing tables, sure. At 18, my local sheriff's department posted that they're hiring dispatchers. No experience needed, which is a crazy qualification to not need. And it's also where the P story comes from in episode 1. But I applied. Literally the only experience I ever had on my resume was I couldn't put bussing tables because that was a legal activity and they couldn't follow that back. So all I had was a grocery store cashier. That's it. They hired me. They hired a fucking grocery store cashier to answer 911 calls. And I did that for a couple months because it is a lot of work. And also the older women that work there were I'm not big on I'm going to say this, but I don't feel this way about most jobs, but I really felt it about this. Actually, I've never felt it about any job, but they felt threatened. And that sounds super weird to say because why be threatened? But I just think because I was younger, quicker, faster, And also, it's a small town. These dispatchers know everybody and everybody's business. So it's when you start bringing in a young person, the circle becomes, it's I'm a leak. I'm an insider now. So I did that for a couple months, which was insane. I love this story because it's the craziest. People always ask you, right? If you've ever been a dispatcher, you are a dispatcher, whatever. Yeah, firefighter, police officer, EMS, you always get this question. What's the craziest thing you've seen? I didn't work there very long. I worked there for about 3 to 4 months because it is very hard and it was just very time consuming. I was 18, working 12-hour shifts, trying to go to college. It was a lot. So the craziest thing I ever did see there was we had a guy who he was peeping into his neighbor's house and the wife was home. Where you're okay, that's weird. But trust me, it gets weirder. The officer comes and he's hey man, you're being a peeping Tom. We got to take you in. And the guy tells the officer, I'll suck your dick if you don't take me. Officer obviously said fucking no, I think. At least that's what's on record. Brings him in. He is kind of having a little episode, I would say. And they put him in solitary confinement because we just weren't sure. And in the dispatcher area, I have access, like camera access to like see what's going on in there. Like I can see all the cells and all that. I wasn't a jailer, but I could like help keep an eye out on things. And so he goes in there and he's just like they give him like a blanket and a pillow and he's like in like a little nightie. All I remember looking over and this guy was like ripping his dick off. And when I tell you like guys, I cannot explain this enough. His dick was completely attached, hanging in his hand. Like, I'm not saying it was just like hanging off. Like, this man completely detached his dick. Completely. Like, you could have thrown it and it would have been a football. So they take him to the hospital. They get it stitched back on or some shit. Come back and they remove his blanket and pillow. So, like, there's nothing he could do. Because he did all this, like, under the blanket. Comes back, does it again. Rips it off, stitches and all, does it again. This guy ripped his dick off 3 times before they finally like took everything away from him and just like handcuffed him in the cell. And this was over hours, right? Because I'm sitting there for like 12 to 15 hours a day. So that's the craziest thing I saw. The reason why he did it is he was like, "Oh, my dick's like the devil," which is like valid. But yeah, so that's the craziest thing I ever saw there. Quit my job after that. And then I went to, and mind you, I'm in college at this time I'll let you know when I quit college and we'll get into that too. But all these stories I'm telling you at the moment, I'm in college part-time and I'm going in person to classes because I love being in person. It's also the reason why I love Help Desk. I just love connecting with people. Everybody's like, you could do it from home. And I'm like, yeah, but I like going in and like, I don't know. I just really like in-person stuff. So the next job I get is at a factory, a medical plant making fucking catheters. And when I'm saying making catheters and it's a factory, like, there's packaging, there's QC. No, I'm in the trenches. I am building these catheters by hand. I'm melting shit. I'm putting it together. There's a whole catheter on my desk that I built. And I'm slaving away. I would get up I used to work like 8 to 4 or something like that. But then I really wanted my Fridays, so I could have 3-day weekends. So they offer like, I'd get up at like 4. I'd get up at 3 a.m. and then go to work by 4. And I'd do like 10-hour days or something like that. Yeah, because it came out to 40 hours a week. So I'd work 10 hours for 4 days just so I could have a 3-day weekend. So I was grinding. And that shit fucking sucked because like it was just hard work. Like that is like, it was hard work. I think that's when I really learned like how most people live their lives, and there's so much respect in that when you're just grinding. It's a brainless job. I used to put headphones in and listen to a podcast. I was watching YouTube videos. So if you get a catheter on mine and it doesn't work, you'll know it was me. But it was just very mentally draining because you're just sitting there with your thoughts in silence. You're not talking to anybody. You take a 10-minute break, you go to lunch, you take another 10-minute break and go home. Like it just was very robotic, and I just can't do those kind of jobs. So I understand the people that do that because they have to, and I cannot respect you more because it's a lot. So and this was a time where I was like 19, just moved in with a bunch of roommates, moved out of my house. I was broke as fuck. Like I was working so much because I just needed money, and this job was paying like, I think like $19 an hour, maybe 20. I don't know, but it was doing more than like what I normally would be making in my small town. So I did that job for I would say, actually, I quit 1 year to the day I started because I got a 1-year review and they gave me a 5-cent raise. Like, listen, I was good at my job. I wasn't the best, but I certainly wasn't terrible. My numbers were great. I was pumping out shit, and they gave me 5-cent raise, and I cried in their office, and I told them to go fuck themselves, and that's a pathetic amount for a raise, and I left. Because this work is grueling, and you're going to give me 5 cents? You're a medical company. I'm sitting here making shit that people need to survive, and you give me 5 cents? And I was like, I know my worth, and I left. I was unemployed for a little bit, but it was the best unemployment period of my life. I had some retirement savings from that job that I had to pull out from to survive for a little bit till I could find another job. So then after a few months of unemployment, I found a job at a HVAC company. When I became a customer service rep, but so I was like booking, people would call in and be like, yo, my AC isn't working, my AC's leaking, my furnace hasn't turned on, I need new filters, I need a checkup, stuff like that. And I would schedule them. They'd have emergencies, my basement's flooding, I'd have to like solve it. It was kind of like 911, but for like plumbing and HVAC, so I kind of understood it. I learned a lot about HVAC. I had no experience in it, but over time, obviously, you learn what your job is. And that job was a great job. I actually met my best friend at that job. And without that job, I don't think I'd have her. So that's the only thing I'm grateful for that's come out of that job, because I thought the factory was grueling. Like, I didn't like hate myself at the factory. I had probably the most severe depression I've ever had at the factory, because again, you're just sitting there in silence for 40 hours a week. And I'm so social that if I don't talk to somebody, I'm just going to get in my head. But I don't think she's listening. And if she is, good, fuck her. There was the biggest fucking bitch of all time that worked at the goddamn, oh my God, I'm coming out. I've never been able to say this publicly. The biggest fucking bitch at the fucking HVAC company. She did quote social media. Bitch, please. She would, oh my God. I hated her so fucking much, because every day at 8 a.m. I clock in and she'd be like, can you give me a call when you get in? And it would just be her screaming at me. Literally over like, and it was like simple things that she was also the trainer, mind you. So everything she screamed at me for was shit that she didn't tell me about as her job. And one time, I have ADHD, shocking. But we were in a training session and I had a question. And if you know anybody with ADHD, sometimes we kind of cut you off before you end your thoughts, because we're just like, we just want to know the answer to a question, or we have something to say, we want to get it out too. It's not we're not trying to cut you off on purpose. We're just excited. We're like involved. And I was involved in the training. I was listening. I had questions. And she was like, could you quit fucking cutting me off? And like, I'd get yelled at because I would go stand up. Mind you, it's customer service. I'm sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day. I go up and like just like walk around for a minute and stretch my legs. And she'd be like, you're always walking around. I'm like, yeah, bitch, I have ADHD. What do you want from me? Like, I cannot stress enough how much I don't hate anybody in this world. But she was actually, I hate one person that will not be named, but I only reserve hate for them. But why would I, even if I named them, you'd all be like, who? Anyways, but I fucking cannot stand her. She's so annoying. Oh my God. Like, truly, the amount of power I feel just saying how much I hate her out loud is incredible. Fuck that bitch. Fuck that trainer. So, the next job, sorry, not the next job. You're all like, what the fuck happened to the HVAC company? So I literally was going in there every morning and sobbing. Like, I hated my job so much that I was crying because I had to go to work. And I was never like that because, listen, I was paying rent. I had to make money. Like, I've always been a grinder, no matter what. Like, I've never thought things should be handed to me. I've never been envious, though, of the people that are, quote, Nepo babies. Like, good for them. I mean, I wish it was me, of course. But, like, everybody was just dealt different cards in life, and that's just how it goes, and it sucks. But, like, the only person that can change that is me. So instead of, like, complaining about it, I'll do whatever the fuck it takes to get me out of it. And that's always been my mindset. So COVID hit during this job. And they fired me because they couldn't afford to keep the staff, and I was the one to go. And then eventually my best friend got fired, and one by one they all got let go. So I was like, okay, well, at least it's just not me, right? So I was like, actually, I went home crying that day because I really needed the job. I was really happy that I didn't have to cry at 8 a.m. anymore, but I was like, fuck, I really need a job. Luckily, I did have enough savings, and I went on unemployment for a little bit. And I was fired during like the very start of COVID, which started like in the spring. So I decided to take that time and just be unemployed and live for a little bit because I've just been grinding my whole fucking life. And so then I picked up in the fall. I enjoyed my summer, about 2 months off, and then in the fall I took up a substitute teaching job. Guys, I can't like explain enough how crazy of jobs I've had. Okay, meanwhile I'm still in college. Still trying. I'm pursuing a degree in marketing and communications at this time, and I get the job to substitute teach, and that honestly was the best job of my life. It paid like ass. You got paid like $100 a day. So I was still able to get unemployment on top of a part-time like gig somehow. But it paid like ass, but truly it was the most fulfilling job I've ever had because I'm not the teacher, right? I'm just there to make sure nobody kills themselves. So like high school students, they just minded their business. They like watch TikToks or whatever. And then the little kids, like we'd have to like, color. But like normally the 4th to 8th graders, every time it was warm out, I'd just be like, you guys want to go outside and run around? And they'd be like, yeah. And I was like, I'd go up to the office and I'm like, yeah, I'm taking these kids out. We're gonna go play. And they'd have nothing to say to me. As long as it wasn't like a serious test during that job, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I need them to read pages one. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna be here. These kids could read this shit at home. And if they don't, they can tell it to her. So I would take them outside. We'd go run around. The girls would braid my hair. The boys would like play tag. Like it was just so fulfilling. I don't know. I just love that job so much. And if substitute teaching was more, if it got paid more, I would have probably still been doing that. Let's be real. So I did that. And then I finally saw, here we go, guys. We're transitioning. We actually, before we transition, this is the part where I drop out of college. I don't say drop lightly because I actually failed out of college 3 times. So yeah, the first time I went for general studies and I had no clue what I was doing, and I was like, why the fuck am I paying all this money for shit and I'm not gonna like know what I'm doing? So I dropped out. Second time, somebody in my family was like, you really need to go to college or you're gonna like end up like me. And I was like, you live in a small town, like there's a reason why you're getting paid the same amount you've been paid for 25 years is because you're not looking elsewhere, but that's just me. So I got so fed up for working for a degree on behalf of somebody else that I dropped out. Third time, I don't know what happened. Oh, actually, I don't know what happened. I just like gave up. But anyways, it does come around though. It'll finish out. So anyways, while I'm teaching one day, I'm scrolling on Indeed. Teaching is lightly put. I'm scrolling on Indeed and I see a job post and it says Apple service provider. If you know how to work an iPhone and you understand tech just a little bit, apply. So I did because, like I said, back in high school, I took 3 years worth of tech classes where we would be fixing tickets that teachers had put in, like their projectors weren't working or their emails weren't syncing. Like I was doing that work for them. So we would learn how to like do all that kind of stuff. I wasn't doing anything crazy. Sometimes I'd run like cable if they really needed a helping hand because it was like 4 tech dudes running this whole school. I would set up like graduation or band concerts, anything like with the audio stuff, that too. So I have some background. And I obviously knew how to work a fucking iPhone because I'm not elderly. So I apply. I get the interview. I get the job. Now the interview, I literally was such a, oh, the interview was via Zoom and there wasn't much qualifications asked. And this is why I think I just got lucky with my intro to the tech because they really just needed somebody desperately. They needed somebody to work the front desk of people coming in. They needed help with diagnostics. So I was like, you know what? I can poke around and give it my best shot with the little info I have back from high school and we'll see how it goes. So I was diagnosing and repairing Apple products. They'd come into the desk and I wouldn't repair as much as I was diagnosing at the desk. So people would come in and be like, my computer hasn't turned on in 3 days. I have a final tomorrow. or we get the old people who were like, I want to know how to airdrop this from my iPad to my phone. I want to download this app. My screen's broken. I spill water on my keyboard. My battery's bloated. Things like that. So that's basically like it in that job. Like when it comes to the repair, like I would do iPhone screens once in a while. If somebody's AirPods aren't working, I'd put them in like the little box and test those. I wasn't fucking with iMacs as hard, but I would like help the other techs. iMacs are just scary, especially that big giant glass screen. I'm always so afraid that it's gonna break. And I was not gonna be responsible for that. My favorite part of that job though was people, and that's where you see in a lot of my TikToks, you see the old G3s, stuff like that. Is people would come in and they would be like, I've had this forever and I just want to recycle it. And I'd be like, yes, please. Bring it here. Like they were just throwing this stuff away, which to me and seems to be other people, it's very vulnerable and very cool shit, as one might say. And I was eating it up. And also the fun part is I could take these things, not the like the nice old stuff, but like people would have like 2008 MacBooks they didn't want anymore. So I'd get to like take it apart and fuck with it and practice. I get to see like what I could run on it. People who brought in the old iPods, oh my God, you guys were the best customers. I loved it. We'd get like the iPod Nanos, we'd get the iPod Touches, we'd get the iPhone 3s that were coming. The shit was so cool. And people were just tossing it out. And I'm like, you don't understand the value you have. But I don't think everybody understands. Now, like when you're in the world of tech, I don't think people understand. They don't understand tech in general, but I don't think they understand the value of like the evolution, if that makes sense. Like it's just like another product for them to buy on to the next. But like I feel, especially when you're working in tech, the evolution of it all is just like really insane. Like going from an iPhone 3 to and putting it next to an iPhone 16, like you can just be like, holy shit. Like you can appreciate what it's taken to get there and like value old products and especially how well they were cared for in the past. I everybody always says like shit was made better in the past and I don't disagree. I think we get better advancements now because, you know, we've moved forward in the world of technology. But back then, like a touch screen phone was incredible compared to a flip phone. But people don't like understand that or like care to don't care to appreciate it like we do, I would say, if you work in tech. I think you understand where I'm coming from when I'm saying this. It kind of sounds like a word salad, but it was always so amazing to me that people were willing to let this stuff go without understanding like how cool it was to me. So I guess one's man trash is another man's treasure type bullshit, but that's truly how it felt. And while I was working there, I will say that job, because it was an Apple service provider, but it was run locally. Like it was bought by a guy who had started his business for like 20 years and his family was running it. He had people like me working there. And I will say that job, like I truly felt very seen there. A lot of people didn't have their opinions about it, but, and maybe they favored me. Like I can't like knock that off, but I truly was very lucky there because at the same time as I was learning all this tech stuff, I asked if I could go back to college. I couldn't afford it. I've never paid for college out of pocket. I've never done loans either. Fuck that shit. But I've always done like FAFSA or usually always FAFSA, okay? Or my job was always paying for it in some type of way. But this job, because I always applied in state. So I decided I wanted to finish my marketing degree because marketing, like I do it now. This is what this is, content/marketing, putting myself out there. It's what I love to do. I love creating stuff to be seen. So I asked them, I said, you guys really need a marketing department because it's not looking pretty here because we were going down the shithole. We weren't making a lot of money because people were paying Apple prices for repairs and we were making like 10% of it, which wasn't a lot. And so I asked like, I'll help you market if you can pay for my degree. And I decided to take it out of state school. I went to SNHU, which isn't like a grant. Like I wasn't going to fucking Harvard by any means, but it was a better school than like an Ivy Tech, which where I was going. So they were paying for that. And then as long as I would pass with flying colors, they would pay for it. And in return, I would help them market their business. And that was so much fun because on top of learning all this tech, I got my degree in associates, but I also got to do like events. Like I got to go out, I got to go talk to cell phone providers, I got to like be very social at conventions, I got to put booths together and see my vision come to life. It was just like, it was just a really nice mesh because the thing with tech and why I've chosen to stick with tech on top of marketing on my own side quest of that is because tech pays in a overall sphere of jobs. Obviously, like doctors even do well, but not even sometimes fucking we be making more than a teacher. We be making more than doctors. And that's insane, but it's because of the way the world is today, and it's something that you really should stick with. Like no matter what, especially now. And I can't imagine what this future is going to hold. But tech's always going to be around in some sort. I remember somebody in my Discord, shoot, wish I could remember their name. Somebody in my Discord, I remember, said it was the very beginning of when I started streaming, so about 2 years ago. They were like, hey, like they were very active in the community, and I am very big on my community. If you say something about yourself, I'll remember it. So I was like, hey, they haven't been around in a while. Hope they're doing okay. He said, hey, I'm in college right now. I'm working a lot. And I'm not going to be able to like hang out in the Discord as much. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. And if people go MIA, I don't like, I'm never like, well, fuck these people. Like, you guys have lives. You're hanging out with a fucking TikToker or Twitch streamer. Like, I get it. I appreciate you letting me know because I do get worried about y'all. But they said, I'm not gonna be able to hang around. And I was like, okay, no worries. And he goes, I'm trying to I want to get a degree in like, it was like, I don't know the technical name of what they were going for, but it was just like, they want to be able to build or like maintain or work on ChatGPT or like AI, that kind of stuff. And at the time, I just was like not understanding that because 2 years ago, mind you, was completely different than what we have today. And that's how scarily fast it's been. But I was like, I really don't like it had been talked about, but it wasn't as incorporated as it is right now in our lives. And I was like, okay, like and in the back of my head, I just was like, man, I wonder how, like, hopefully that goes well for him, you know? Like nobody knew what the outcome of AI was going to be. Well, I'm very happy to say for him, I think once he finishes his degree, he's going to have a lot of work to do in a good way because, you know, that shit's bussin' right now. And that's what I mean by like, I will always choose the tech path because it's always going to be around. I haven't necessarily honed in. A lot of people ask me like, what is like, what do you want to do? A lot of people ask me that when I worked help desk. Like, what do you want to do to move forward? Like, do you want to program? Do you want to like, you know, do all this other shit? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's a lot. And to just, I mean, I want to be good at all of it. Like, to just hone in on one area, and I've witnessed it firsthand working help desk, I have to go to, you know, different people for different things, and like that's what they're good for. But I just like I want to learn it all at the same time. So I don't really have an area I wholeheartedly want to work in. I think a lot of people know software more than hardware, and I'm proud to say I can do both, and I feel like super smart in that. But some people also have that, but it just seems that like once they've mastered what they want to master, it just kind of feels like they don't want to branch out more. And I'm not speaking for everybody when I'm talking about this. This is just like my experience and things I've learned while I've been working. But that's just how it feels, and I just don't want to like fall victim to sticking with one course of action. I want to be able to answer all the questions. So after that job, I worked there for about 2 years, and then I decided to do that part-time because I took a full-time job at a corporation, a school corporation, and I was just 100% help desk. There was a bunch of different techs. Everybody got a building except here's how it was handled, right? There's like different elementary schools throughout your county, right? One tech gets a school and they have an office in that school and that's where they work. They help those kids with their iPads, whatever. Little old me worked at the admin. So I was working with the admin building, the transportation building, the food building, early learning building, the co-op building. I had 5 different buildings I was doing by myself. And I some days really struggled because why was I given 5 buildings and everybody had one? But at the same time, I'm beyond thankful for it because one, that's where a lot of my TikTok content comes from. It was the start of all of this. But also, like, I learned so much. Um, I learned how to, like, run cable. I learned how to install APs. I learned a lot more about OneDrive and like just all that kind of stuff in general because I was so Apple based, right? I was working at an ASP. I was doing the cloud. This really like helped me in the world of like HP and fucking what are they? Dude, what are they? I hate them. I hate them so much. Surfaces, fuck surfaces. Like I just was able to expand so much. Imaging, that was new for me. I learned how to do that there. Installing and configuring software, terminating Keystone jacks and RJ45s, cable management, two-factor authentication, like that kind of stuff. Like I learned so much at that job. And I was there for about a year because if you have been with me since the beginning, you'll know I got a job opportunity in New York City. In New York! Yeah. So I left there. I left everything I fucking knew in hopes of taking this job in New York. And it was a level 1 help desk just as much. It was more remote work though. At the school corporation, I was like going building to building. Somebody had a problem. My email's not working. I would just drive over there, check it out, show them, stuff like that. But this job was more, I was sitting in my bedroom working from home in New York, which was nice because I got to go out and go work at coffee shops. I got to go to Times Square and eat at the Taco Bell with my laptop while I was fixing a printer. Like it was really cool to have a remote job in New York City. And I really enjoyed it. And it was also like the first like independence I've had from a small town. I was living on my own. I was having to be accountable for myself. I was getting on the train with my headphones looking cool. I was getting late night pasta, the New York way. And I just like, I don't know. I think that really shaped who I am today because without that like experience of jumping into the city from a small town, I don't know who I'd be. But also it just showed that like I have to give it to my social media for being the reason I got that job, but also being able to learn tech. Like the opportunities are endless. I don't think if I was a school teacher going viral on TikTok, I'd get a teaching job in New York City in a DM. You know what I'm saying? So those two really just went hand in hand for me, and it seems to still be. So I've just been really grateful for that. But when it came to like the New York job, like I said, network troubleshooting, maintenance, Active Directory, which was new for me, Microsoft licenses. Because when at the school, if somebody needed a license, I'd go to somebody that was their job. I wasn't able to do all of that. So it's like I leveled up here a little bit. But I still was considered help desk. And that's the thing. I see it a lot, especially in my videos with me in the server room. Everybody's like, no way in fuck, like, help desks in the server room. You don't understand. You must, like, have a really functional job if you don't think, like, if you're help desk all the way to system admin, you're not doing all the same jobs at some point in your career. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, system admin's going to do help desk shit, and help desk is going to do, like, Active Directory. Sometimes I might give out Microsoft licenses, but there is a guy who does that. There's also a guy who does Active Directory. Like, everybody's doing the same job. It's just a matter of when and where. That leads us to today. I'm waiting to hear back on a new job, and I'm very excited about it. It is, I don't want to talk about it yet, but I will because it's different from help desk. I think I'm gonna level up here, guys. But I hate talking about stuff too early because I just think I jinx it. But I am very excited. So that is the lore of my work ethic, which is insane that I went from a grocery store clerk, did all the weird shit in between, and now I'm here today. Don't know how the fuck I did this. I'm only 24 years old, but here we are. I'm also a big advocate for don't stay anywhere too long. This whole bullshit that we were fed by our old people of like job loyalty. Now, fuck job loyalty. Every job I had besides, I will say besides the substitute teaching job because I just needed money and I also enjoyed it, I've made more money than the last, no matter what. And I've never stayed at a job. I've never stayed at a job longer than a year. Okay. And by the end of it, when I was in New York, I was making like $27. So, yeah, that's just how I feel about it. I also was like paid hourly for all these jobs. This upcoming one I applied for is salary, which will be new for me. So I don't know what that'll look like, but a, from the talks of it, I should be getting paid more again. So always, always go up, always level up. Like there, don't take less unless you really love the job, but and you can like financially handle it. But especially in tech, you should be able to always up the salary or the hourly you've had before. That education isn't like the education of whether that be schooling or just on-site job education, that should always be an investment. It should always make your numbers go up because it's tech. All right, so the other question I get is what kind of certs do you have? Do you have any certs? What certs should you get? What? Listen, I hate this question just because I'm not the person to ask. The only certs I have are ACIT and ACMT, which are Apple Certified iOS and Apple Certified Mac, and nobody gives a fuck about those, okay? Apple does, but I don't have a cert in anything else. Everything that I've learned has come from on the job, and I've said this live on my Twitch stream, but I do recommend getting a A plus. It's the basics. If you really want to start, like you don't have any experience, like how to even like get internet to a computer type vibe, A plus is gonna be good. And it's also like a certificate. It's not so much like you have to go to college and like do all that. Like you just have to do the course. And you should have a basic understanding of what's going on. And a lot of people also ask, like, did you go to college? Did you go to school for this? No. No, I did not. Do I need a degree in this? No. I feel like there's me along with I think some other people could attest are living proof of that. But it does help. There's always going to be something that helps. Now, I couldn't say this to a doctor. Could I just like learn on the go? No, you're going to kill somebody. But you can't like what's the worst you're going to do, right? You might you might wipe a drive of an important person's. You might shock yourself. But there's nothing the thing with like schooling is like it's basics and that's why I think A plus is good for. But it's basics like you can sit in a classroom all day and learn how to add the IP to a new printer, right? But no one's going to teach you that Kelly in HR, her fake fingernail fell off in the printer and that's why it's not working and you can't figure that out remotely. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much hands-on that you have to learn and that's per job, per ticket case. Every ticket is going to be different than the last no matter what. I would say a lot of them are like restarts, right? Haha, we joke about that, and that's your number one your number one ticket resolver is restarting, but everybody's gonna have a different uptime to cause that restart to fix itself and that's gonna be the odd part. I just don't I'm an advocate for education everywhere. If you have the money to go to college and do it. But a lot of jobs also will offer you to go to college. Like get the job and they'll pay for it. But my number one thing that I have learned, and the reason why I don't go to school for it, is every job is going to teach you the same thing, right? But it's going to be in the way of their doings. So, how one job might want you to image is going to be different than how another job wants you to image. And you'll learn on the job how to do it the way they want to do it. It's not going to be like a basic overall. And the education will help you understand what the fuck they're talking about, but they're still going to show you how to do it their way. So, like, that's where it gets tricky because everybody's going to do it differently, and you're going to learn a million different ways to image a fucking computer, but with the same basics, just how they want to do it and what systems and where they want you to put it and how they want you to rename it and all that kind of fun stuff. Basically, if you have the money to go to college for it, do it. If you don't, I highly suggest A+. And if you really don't want to do any of those options, you can go my route and find a basic. I highly recommend like repair stores because they will teach you everything. Especially just like, and I didn't repair stuff for a while. I just was doing the basic troubleshooting at a desk for the longest time. And it's enough that you can show that you've worked with computers, you can understand and kind of fix the most basic things. And it should help you achieve the next goals. I can't say it's going to work, but like it worked for me. I did it a very random route, but I just know a lot of people I've talked to about this from my community in the Twitch chat that work in tech have all just gained a lot of their jobs from experience, and that one entry job, that like foot in the door it's worth more than a degree in my eyes. But that's me. I'm going to label this the tech episode because I think that'll get more clicks. But that's kind of just the journey through my life because I think a lot of people think, you have to have a strong background in this. I do now. It's been like over 4 years of this for me. But like I said, I never intentionally was trying to end up here. I needed money and I saw a tech job and I took it with the little information I had back from high school and it paid well. And I also was like, ooh, Apple discounts. But looking back now, I'm so grateful for it because there's no other occupation I'd want to be in for stability reasons. And also just the community from what I've gathered by becoming Firewall Fox is just incredible. We all share the same pains and laughter. But we also know we're so essential and like the littlest reboot or screen replacement means the world to so many people, so many data saves. Like I feel like a superhero sometimes because of how much like they just don't get it. They just will never understand, or they try, or they just choose not to understand it because we're around. And that's okay that they give me a job every day to do. But I can't see myself being in any other type of industry anymore. Besides like marketing, like I will always love marketing. I would love to be on the news. But when it comes to like anything else, I've never wanted to be a nurse. I never wanted to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a teacher. Never wanted to be a police officer. I never wanted to be a trash man. Like I never wanted to work in the trades. Like I just cannot see myself anywhere else. Like I feel like I found where I belong by accident. But it feels so welcoming at the same time, especially being a woman. It's not as like crazy to be a woman in tech anymore. But some days you do have that vibe, especially when I would work help desk. I'd get a lot of, older men who would just want to talk to the men there, which was interesting. But I don't feel like there's a separation at all. I see so many intelligent and smart women that are very high up in their companies, and that's amazing. So it just, on top of all of that, on top of the men that are also welcoming to me in the community, I just can't see myself anywhere else. And I thank God every day that I chose the path I did by accident because I can't think of being anywhere else in my life. All right, here's the favorite part of the pod, it seems to be, but this is the confessionals. Confessionals are where you can DM me on Instagram. You can go to my Reddit, which is Firewall Fox Official, and you can upload. You can DM me or write a post about something that you would never tell a soul, basically, and we being me, I decide if it's sinful or forgiveful. And so far, they've been really interesting to say the least. But I do really like this part. It kind of closes out the show very well. It kind of brings some humor because some of my podcast topics are heavy, some of them are educational in a sense, if I could say that. Me, educational is crazy. But I just really enjoy these, so please keep them coming. Your name is never mentioned in the show. The only person that'll see it is me, especially if you DM it. If you do it on Reddit, use like a tag we don't know you behind. Or if you don't care, go ahead and use your name. But in the DMs, the only person that sees it is me, and I don't judge you until it's right here in front of me. So today's is interesting. I was once in a situation in which I had to share toilets with 100+ beings. These toilets would not flush TP, period. I was still early in the transition to this subpar plumbing, as my previous options were either flush everything or don't flush at all, a porta-john. We were supposed to throw our TP in a bin beside the toilet. I had no idea. Even upon seeing the bin, I thought nothing other than must be for feminine products, as they were co-ed bathrooms. Remember that bit about co-ed bathrooms. Be me, have local third world pizza for dinner, tummy bubble, projectile shit, so much TP needed, finally clean after an hour on the toilet. I step out of the stall to see one female waiting on a free stall, which now happened to be the one I just stepped out of. Without looking back, I casually walked up to the sink to wash my hands as she moved towards the stall. As I see her open the door through the mirror, she cocks her head back and she just has the most awful look on her face. I've never washed my hands so fast in my life. I still had soapy water dropping from them as I walked fastly out of the building. Hearing a gagging noise from behind me, thank God I never saw that woman again. Okay. I can't consider this a sin. I would say initial reaction. I would say criminal behavior. This is a crime. Not a sin, but crime. That is, like, I think the justice, you got karma before the event even happened, like you having to shit so bad that it was like foreshadowing the events that were coming. You just didn't realize it yet. You thought that was the worst of it. No. So I can forgive on this one. But dear God, I feel so bad for that woman because that's insane. And also, like, as a woman, listen, I had norovirus and I was shitting, right? But like to projectile shit, I don't know. Like, how do men do this? And also, like, men be taking fat shits, so I hear from the moms. But like, what are y'all carrying up there? Like, you guys like carry like 10 pounds of shit in your stomach just walking around. When people always said like when you take a shit and you're like 5 pounds lighter, I've never related to that. But for men, it seems like it's actually a real thing. It's a little side quest there on that story, but okay, criminal, but not sinful. And that's a new option I'm gonna go with because, oh, the smell, I can't imagine. That's awful. All right, so that is the podcast for today. I am officially a month out from my cruise as of today's recording, and I'm so excited. Don't worry, I will be offline during my cruise, but I will have podcasts still out for you because I'm always 2 steps ahead. So, to plug, it's plugging time. It's time to plug. That sounds crazy. It's time to plug the hole. I am to be found on multiple platforms. I think by the time this is uploaded, TikTok will be quote banned, but like it's not gonna die yet because it still has like until the next updates get pushed out. I don't know how often they push those, so we'll see. But I hope you guys are. I hope this is better than TikTok, right? Damn. You can find me on Twitter at FirewallFox100, on the poppin' off Instagram reels of FirewallFox100. Like I said, if you want to send me your confessions, DM on Instagram or the Reddit, which is FirewallFoxOfficial. That's all I've got right now because I can't say TikTok anymore, I don't think. FirewallFox, TikTok. TikTok! Join the Discord. FirewallFox.com carries all of this. You can check out all my socials, all the fun stuff. So I don't know why I just don't plug the website. It's fucking expensive to run. But FirewallFox.com. But anyways, thank you all for listening. Again, if you're returning or your first time, highly recommend checking out the other episodes. They're all just a little bit different from the last, but I'm really happy to get this episode out of the way because I get it so much. And there'll be more tech episodes in the future, but I am hoping to get all the mods on here soon and do a modcast. Isn't that cute? Modcast? That's kind of quirky. Anyways, so I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you next Wednesday on the Firewall Files. And thank you so much for listening. Bye.